Hey friends, welcome to Quick Snap episode 2. It has been a very long time since we did episode 1, 7 months to be exact, but we're here, we're doing episode 2, and with me today is the one, the only Dazedmw to talk about Conquest, which was a Victorian tournament that was held over the Easter long weekend. Dazed, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm well. I'm very well, very full. Just ate some churros and barramundi. Can't go wrong. I apologise for the potato quality of Dazed every now and again. If he comes in and out, internet down in my little old Australian town isn't that great, but we'll make do with what we've got. So, yeah. So, Conquest. Easter weekend.
So Joe Kano's been running the Blood Bowl tournament at Conquest for many a year. 13 was the rumour at the weekend.
13?
He was saying. 13, yeah. So
Wow.
I think 210 was the first time I attended.
So, yeah.
It's been most years since then, so...
Seven years.
7 years.
Whew.
Yeah. I think Canberra coach Beefy Goodness won that year. He's quite a good coach, but he hasn't been on the scene for a couple of years. So,
Well, rumour has it that you were the winner this year.
so the rumour goes.
Congratulations.
I think we're blaming Kyle for that, aren't we? He didn't show up and let me win.
For the no-show, yeah, and handing you the victory.
Yeah.
So the format.
Yeah, so the format. So
The format.
Resurrection Tournament, 1.15 million to purchase players, 11 players. 1.15 is a bit lower than what it had been previous years, where Joe traditionally goes 1.25 million. Then you can buy a normal skill for 20k or a double skill for 30. Stat increases as well. Although again this year there was a bit of a change. He didn't allow edge or strength increases to your stats. No player can have more than one skill. And the other big thing with this year is no skill or stat could be taken more than twice.
Which
so
was
your guard
amazing.
spam or your Mighty Bros spam orc list wasn't possible under this rule set. So in my mind, the 1.15 limited the races a bit. The limit of 2 or more probably balanced that a little bit, but perhaps not enough. Without that second rule in place, everyone would be taking dwarves and lots of guard and orcs with lots of mighty blow, but at least that gave the edge teams or the utility teams a bit of a chance not having to face 5 mighty blow or multiple mighty blow tackle on the likes of dwarves.
Yeah. So without saying what teams we went so far to talk about just the format a little bit more, would you say you liked the format more than the previous one? Or about the same, or didn't faze you?
I think after the event, I appreciated it a little bit more than going in, but that might have been reflective of my result. Look, the Europeans run a lot of tournaments at that sort of TV level, and they tend to be dominated by 2 or 3 lists, where I think generally in Australian leagues, Australian tournaments, I should say, where the TV is generally higher, minimum of 1.25. Effectively, once you include skill packs, you can be up 1.3, 1.4. I think they open up a lot more races into play.
Yeah.
Where the Europeans, wood elves, lizards, a bit of undead, really dominate the tournament scene. So I think the restriction on skills in this pack helped, but I think it's still a fairly restrictive rule set.
Yeah.
And if 1.25 was getting stale because we've done it a lot of times, I would have liked the move up rather than the move down.
Yeah.
As you go up, there's more things you can do. The likes of dwarves and orcs that dominate sub 1.2, the utility of the last 100 or 200k in their teams is pretty limited because they've already bought everything they can.
Yeah, exactly. They just plateau a little bit and you just get stuff for the sake of getting stuff.
Yeah. Chaos dwarves as well. Where there are any number of other teams that benefit from the ability to buy all their positionals, High Elves, Necro, Slan, and buy additional skills to fill the holes in those teams.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'd have to agree. Yeah, I thought, it was refreshing to have a different rule set because, like you said, we have played in Victoria, and particularly a lot with that 1-2-5, two normal skills on a player, or a double skills stat increases, if you like. Not many people tended to take the stat increases, just because having two normal skills on a player is pretty good. So that used to happen a lot. But yeah, like you said, I think I found it a little bit restrictive in that your good teams just sort of stayed good and your bad teams got worse because you couldn't take half of the stuff, like you said, all the positionals and whatever. So, but what team did you end up taking, and what list did you end up running? I have it right here for people who want to look at it, but I'm sure you know it off by heart. You've got, people can't see on the camera, but you do have your little trophy and the 4 catches that led you to glory in front of you. There it is.
The trophy. Catch the miniatures, catches. So yes, after much deliberation and going back and forth, I originally thought about taking a different list one I had played before, but the format just offered so little options. And then I remembered that since Blood Bowl 2016 came out, I wanted to try the human catches because I guess that was the major stat change, the major roster change that the new format brought, which weren't very many. Gutter runners got weaving blades, which is relevant in tournaments.
Yeah.
Halfling trees got timber.
Timber, yeah.
And human catches were reducing costs to 60k.
Broken.
So yes, it was a chance to test that out. So I played humans in tournaments before, but not in the last 3 or 4 years. So humans it was. And a 4 catcher human list. It was at that. So.
4 catchers, no ogres. So I've got the list here. So we've got a thrower with leader, a thrower with block, a blitzer with tackle, a blitzer with mighty blow, a blitzer with guard, and another blitzer with guard. Then we've got 4 catchers, 1 with wrestle, 1 with block, 1 with nothing, and 1 with diving tackle. Then a lineman with wrestle, another lineman, 2 rerolls, 1 fan factor, no apothecary. But you do have the 12 players, right? So.
Yeah, that's right. And there's enough positionals in each position that, it's not like when you're taking wood elves and you need to keep your war dancers on the field, so the apothecary backs them up. You lose a blitzer, you still got 3. You lose a catcher, you still got 3. There's no standouts. It's a pretty vanilla squad at the best of times. Not being able to stack 2 skills on a player didn't lead to a situation where I had 1 player that I had to have on the field. So the 8 off I didn't think added much value there.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
The other restriction, the maximum of 2 skills, if that wasn't in place, I probably would have given the Lino guard as well with that spare 10k I had to upgrade the wrestle to a double. But the two guard and the blitzers already is normal skills, which worked pretty well. A single mighty blow to make it count where the matchup was against AV7 teams or teams with positionals with AV7 like the Dark Elves.
Yep.
Tackle for the Dodge teams. Having 2 throwers worked out well because only having 1, you give them leader to save money on the reroll, but then he doesn't have block. So the block guy held the ball for 80%, 90% of the time.
Yep. So the leader guy was just a guy that ran around for you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
He was the reserve ball carrier. I think there was at least 1 drive where I got my ball carrier sacked and the leader came in and grabbed the ball and took off.
Oh, yeah.
And then the catches, wrestle and block to protect them on a couple. Dive and tackle is one of those skills where you go game and a half and don't really use it, doesn't really come into play, and then you're at the end of a game and you're facing a witch elf that wants to blitz your ball carrier, and you dodge your human catcher away with diving tackle and plonk him beside him.
And say, dodge away from this.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He ends up dodging with a liner who doesn't have dodge and rolls a one first dodge. So
Perfect.
that worked out well. So yeah, so that was the list. I wasn't expecting. Well, I was optimistic that there might be some spark in them. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I wasn't optimistic that I was going to go in and roll the tournament or anything like that, but I thought the 4 catches gave me something that humans perhaps hadn't had previously. And with them being 40k cheaper, it adds you a couple of extra skills to the roster that sort of pads it out a bit. So
Yeah.
that's the list.
So, what would you have changed about... Obviously, you won, so you don't need to change anything because it's a winning list. But in hindsight, I mean, you took the 4 catches because you wanted to take 4 catches, which I think means that you probably couldn't have fit the ogre in even if you had wanted to. He was probably a little bit too expensive.
Yeah, that's right.
But
so what are they? 140?
I think around about that. Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, so so that's a significant investment. I'm always of the opinion that you don't want to be paying too much for unreliable players.
Yeah.
I think the Troll's a better fit in the Orc roster because at least he's cheap. He can sit there and take a pounding. Yeah, so Human Ogres are 140 according to the MBBL website, so we'll go with that.
Shout outs to the MBBL.
Yeah. So Ogre. Look, I don't think if we're starting again, I think I'd pretty much take the same roster. Yep. I wouldn't guarantee that I'd win the tournament again, but I think the roster was pretty good. The leader block, 2 throws worked. Tackle, mighty blow, guard on the blitzers worked. Maybe I would swap the block on the human catch and the wrestle on the human lineman around.
Okay, yeah.
The wrestle effectively, I mean, the catches, I don't think the catch... Oh, they might have thrown 2 blocks the whole tournament between the 4 of them. So the wrestle was basically to get there to keep them alive.
Yeah, and because of the restriction on only having the 2 skills, max 2 skills.
Yeah, that's right. So the block on the human lino on the line would have been more useful.
Yeah.
So the wrestle's not bad, but he doesn't offer a lot by wrestling people down. I've failed a few times through the tournament when you're getting towards the end of the first half and you've still got a reserve.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a major play. But because it was just there to keep them alive and I didn't really use them offensively, I probably would have put the second wrestle on the catcher.
Yeah.
Right in the liner.
Seems good. So that's a tournament winning list right there. So folks at home, if you're playing in that format, just take this tournament and Daze guarantees you will win. 100% guarantee. Alright, so we'll move on to my list now. I wouldn't. Oh, we're just losing you. Potato internet.
Right.
Alright, so we'll move on. So, sorry, slight technical difficulties. Still slightly technically difficult with Matt looking a little bit distorted over there, but hopefully we can still hear him, so we'll soldier on and keep going with my internet. So
what's that unusual?
What was that, sorry? Oh, no, I think I've lost you.
More distorted than usual, but carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll come good. Alright, so I took Orcs to the tournament, and spoiler alert, obviously I didn't come first, but I did come third. So Dazed won the day with 4 wins from 4 games. It was 1 day, 4-game tournament.
3 draw.
Oh, 3 wins and a draw, sorry. I thought, didn't you have 4 wins? Oh, no, you drew the last game. Yeah, of course. You only needed to draw the last game, though, at that stage. So 3 wins and a draw.
Yeah.
Sorry. I ended up coming third with 3 wins and a loss. So come third on tiebreakers. Second was Jono with his Camry, who also had 3 wins and a loss. But I took Orcs, so I've got a list with 2 black Orcs with block, one Black Orc with Guard, one Black Orc with Mighty Blow, one Blitzer with Frenzy, one Blitzer with Tackle, one Blitzer with Guard, one Blitzer with Sure Hands, 2 Linos, a Troll with Leader, 1 reroll, and I did have an Apothecary, which you can't see on the list here. So, what do you think, Dazed, of the list? What's your impressions of the Orc list? And then I'll give you my impressions having played the list.
Well, my first question for you was going to be how did the Troll with Leader go?
How did the Troll with Leader go and how did the Troll go are 2 different questions. The Leader was good. Having Leader was good. The Troll was terrible. But like I said, so I feel like with the 4 Black Orcs, with only two of them having block, you were throwing 2... If you blocked with one of the other 2, in particular, more so the Mighty Blue one, you weren't blocking as much with the Guard one. The blocks didn't feel safe. And so then to throw a 5th block with a Troll who didn't have block, and it was relatively unsafe, even with 3 dice. I did roll triple skulls, so, the chances are there. It's still, it made him seem a lot worse than what he actually is. I think if you have block on all 4 Black Orcs, the Troll gets a hell of a lot better because suddenly that's 4 pretty safe blocks you're throwing with the Black Orcs, and then the Troll, a little bit unsafe, usually 3 dice, sometimes 2 if you're lazy. But yeah, the leader, having the leader on the Troll was really good. I never lost leader in the whole tournament. I always had leader, so that was good. One thing you might notice on the list is I've got no thrower. So a Blitzer with Sure Hands. When I gave the Blitzer Sure Hands, I thought, Orc throwers, all he's getting is leader for 20k. For a doubles to round it out, I gave the Troll leader and looked at it and went, I don't really need the thrower. So that was, I guess, why the Troll ended up with leader. And I thought, it was surprisingly, the Troll itself was bad, but having leader on the Troll was good because I did always have that leader reroll.
So I guess my thoughts, I would usually go no thrower as well. I'm not a big fan. Too slow, that's right. Sure Hands on a Blitzer is good. I don't know whether I would take the Apothecary.
Yeah, that was a consideration too at the end. It was sort of just a habit from always playing AV7 Edge 4 teams, going, first thing I need, rerolls, Apothecary.
How many Kaz did you take during the day?
I did actually take quite a few. What would I have taken? I reckon I definitely actually took more than I received. I think I took... Who did I play first game? First game was other Orcs, and I took 3 in that game. Second game was Dark Elves, and I think I took 2. Third game was Necro, and I think I took 2 again, and then last game was Wood Elves, and I took 2 against Wood Elves as well. So, yeah, the Apothecary got his value out at the end of the day. Considering especially that with only the 11 players, I wasn't getting as many players off the pitch as I would have liked. So, but in hindsight, I think I would have preferred the extra lineman, or even maybe a Gobbo to attempt the 1-turn score. That just leaves you with 10k left over, but it does give you a chance to score in a turn, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Either the Goblin, even a Lino reserve opens up fouling.
Yeah, that would have been pretty nice to have.
Or just an extra couple of skills. So you have a couple of unskilled Linos, was it?
Yeah, two unskilled Linos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you look at giving them wrestle.
Yeah, or even kick. I wouldn't have minded kick on, but then the Linos are going on the line, so you're not going to give one of them kick. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think the list was pretty good. It performed pretty well. It does hurt not having the block on the other 2 Black Orcs. Like I said, it just makes it feel so less safe. And because I did play a couple of teams with Strength 4, and a couple of teams that had a little bit of guards sort of scattered in there, it did make it hard to get like 3 dice blocks with the Black Orcs. But yeah, the blitzers were all really good. The Mighty Blow on the Black Orc was terrible, but that's just my lack of rolling high on cash dice. But overall, I think the list was pretty solid. I'd actually never played Orcs before going into this tournament, and they are a very forgiving team.
Yes, that's right. I was surprised that you'd never managed to play Orcs in your 97 NAF matches, but
yeah, not once.
Well, I guess you would have got to your 100 matches in the weekend, actually.
Yes, I would have.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. That's a lot of matches. But,
wow. Yeah. Nearly half of mine.
The vet over here, I can't compete with the vet.
So I think I would have avoided Mighty Blow on a blockless player because it's in conflict with the rest of his stat line. You don't want to block with him too much because he doesn't have block. As you say, it doesn't feel safe. But you want to maximise blocks with Mighty Blow. Maybe you go 2 block, 2 guard with the bobs and put 2 Mighty Blow on the blitzers.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2 block, a wrestle in the guard.
Yeah. I did find that the guard on the blitzer was pretty useful, having that little bit more mobility in one of the guards. So
yeah, that's right.
That was nice. But yeah, I do think in hindsight, Mighty Blow wasn't the most optimal choice. Maybe even like something like Grab would have been better, or Stand Firm even.
Yeah. Given the lack of block, I think Stand Firm would have been good. If you're not given, if you're going to split the guard between the Black Hawks and the Blitzers, a Stand Firm, or even failing that, skillless, because I don't know whether you get a lot of utility out of skills like Grab or Mighty Blow that rely on blocks when you don't really want to be throwing blocks.
Yeah, when you don't have the block. Yeah.
Did you have 2 Mighty Blow in the team?
Only
or just
one.
The one?
Yeah, only
right.
the one. Yeah, I had Frenzy Tackle as the other 2 blitzers. So the Frenzy was really good. The tackle actually, having 1 tackle I think is always good. I think you always have at least 1 tackle.
So you had Frenzy, Tackle, Guard, Sure Hands.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
right.
And the Sure Hands was good. He pretty much, I think he only got sacked once, and that was War Dancer leaping in, powering him 1 dice, but then they couldn't recover the ball anyway. So he was good. The guard was good. Tackle was good. Frenzy was good. Mighty Blow on the Black Hawk, average. I don't think he actually even. I think he might have knocked a couple of guys out. I don't think he ever cashed anyone or anything. Guard on the Black Hawk was good, just to have that big guard you could stick on the line at the start of your offensive drive, and then block on Black Hawks. It's just they're Black Hawk blockers. They need it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, so with my human blitzer with Mighty Blow, you only got 1 Mighty Blow, but if he's got block, it's the first action. You look to hit something that is the first thing you look on. Occasionally you switch to the tackle if you're trying to take down a War Dancer, and you're trading off the extra Mighty Blow on the armor dice versus an extra option on the block dice to take him down. The tackle. But most of the time it's where's the Mighty Blow guy? What can I do with him? What's the juicy target? And the fact that he's got block means you always want to do that. Where the Black Hawk without block, it becomes more of a difficult proposition.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I didn't want to block with. It was like the last thing I would do in a turn. It would be him and then the troll. So it was
which is your 2 Mighty Blows.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. But just to talk briefly about your road to victory, we'll bring your list back up. So what races did you play on the way to victory in your 4 games?
Played Dark Elves first.
Yep.
Then Wood Elves, then Khemri, and then back to Dark Elves for the last round.
Very good. And so first 3 games were wins, and then the last one was a draw.
Yeah, so I knew I only needed a draw going to the last game, so that affected things a bit. So three wins straight, and then my opponent in the last round had a draw already, so they were behind me in the standings, so a draw kept me ahead.
Yeah, perfect. So how did the games play out? How did game 1 play out? Just a brief overview.
So briefly, he won the toss and received. I managed to break up his cage a little bit and ended up lucking out on a 2 dice uphill block on his runner, which ended in a Kaz on the runner, and that tilted the game pretty significantly. So throughout the game, I thought he had pretty good block dice. He took my blodging catches down pretty regularly, but he didn't really do significant damage. I think we ended up 3 Kaz each, but I think his 2 were late game. So I took his runner out about turn 4 or turn 5, who also had leader.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that leader out as well?
Yeah, so he'd used it in the first half, but meant he was a reroll short in the second. And I ended up scoring at the end of the first half through Kazing his runner. The ball was on the ground. It was a bit of a mess, but I eventually got away, and basically just the numbers told eventually, and I was able to wrap it up 2-0. Actually, I might have got a late extra to make it 3.
3-0. Didn't even concede.
Yeah, so, but that all went pretty well. Second round against Wood Elves. One of those games, you're playing against Wood Elves, pretty experienced, competent coach, not great, but competent. And despite the fact that I thought I had the game under control pretty much the whole game, he was still rolling dice with the chance to tie it up turn 14, 15 and 16. He once again won the toss received, and I spent the first couple of turns on defence maximising blocks but keeping my players behind the line, so he couldn't sort of move the ball up and stall. He scored about turn 3. I spent the rest of the half driving down and scoring, and then I spent the second half grinding it out and scoring late, but wasn't really able to do enough damage to feel safe. I think third to last turn 14, he tried to go in with his wood answer, but needed to do dodges as well as a leap, ended up falling over and KOing himself. He was down players by that stage, but I never really felt comfortable. He was still leaping in with the other wood answer at the end. I scored.
Throwing bodies at you.
Yeah, that's right. And against Wood Elves, it's always a chance. He set up for the 1-turn touchdown, but really was probably a player short, and actually made a bit of a mistake in the setup because he knew he was a player short. So really, the play was to hope for the touchback or hope for a kick, and play his thrower up the field. And as it happened, the kick was a touchback. So if he'd set his thrower up in the line, he would have had the players to at least attempt
to do it.
But because he set him up back, he had to move him up. Then he wasn't in place for the block that he needed to get the last push. So that all fizzled out, and I won 1-2-1. Third game was against Jono's Kemery, and I have to say I got lucky because I received, and Jono basically marked up my whole team turn 2, punched a hole in my first wall of my cage, was able to get someone in to mark up the thrower with the ball. So I was facing 11 on 11, individually marked just about. With Kemery, 4 of those are strength 5. And so the options, the problem with his plan was if I was able to dodge a couple of players away, he had no cover. He wasn't going to be able to dodge out and catch me if I got away. But the issue was I failed the first dodge, and I'm now stuck with it all going terribly from there on in. He knocked me down, turned me over, got the ball, but he probably made a mistake a little bit by going to the sidelines when he recovered. And I was able to get a player in on a 1-dice block that knocked him down, and then the ball scattered out. The crowd threw the ball back to the mid-pitch, where my catcher was able to scoop it up and run off.
And when you have 4 catches, there's bound to be one that's going to be able to scoop it up and
that's right. That's right. So probably the only way that happens though is if the ball goes out. So he probably shouldn't have been in a position where that was going to be possible. Then in the second half, I think we had sweltering heat, so the numbers were down. The ball was kicked deep, and then he had traditional Kemry picking up issues. Eventually got the ball, got a handoff to clear the field out a bit. I caught him 4 squares short of my line, knocked him over, but couldn't recover the ball myself. His player stood up, blitzed 1 dice, frenzy, knocked me down, but again, perhaps a little bit of an error. Instead of frenzying me, I did recover the ball.
Okay.
So I had the ball, he frenzied and knocked me down, but again, he pushed me into the end zone and the ball went out.
Okay.
And then was thrown back in 7 squares, and he ended up having to attempt to pass with the Tomb Guardian to top. And the Tomb Guardian dodged away. So if he had pushed me on the first frenzy block diagonal rather than straight back towards the end zone, the ball would have scattered into the end zone, and he may have been able to pick it up with GFIs.
Yeah.
And that would have drawn it. But really the key play was the throw-in turn 1 that basically gifted me a touchdown by going the right way, 9 squares or something like that.
Yeah.
If that went across field or if that stayed in, probably he would recover and he'd be 1-0 up receiving second half and be well on the way to victory.
Yeah. So a little bit fortuitous, but at the same time, 2 small little mistakes perhaps. That's right. And also, I always say, it's Blood Bowl, you're rolling a lot of dice. You need a bit of luck throughout the day to take a tournament win. That's true, yeah.
So last game again against Dark Elves, leading the draw for the victory, tournament victory. Again, I kicked. I thought I had him bottled up pretty well, but he managed to escape, but then dropped a pass near my end zone. He needed to pass to a blitzer who was in the tackle zone, so needing a 3 and couldn't catch it. But he had the speed to recover and got himself into a position where he probably could have scored. I think he could have scored turn 3 with the GFI, or just walked in turn 4. Mm-hmm. But he stalled out a couple of turns, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, particularly since he needed the win and you only needed a draw.
That's right. So he was limiting his chances of losing, but a loss is just about as bad as a draw, and a draw is just about as bad as a loss in that situation.
Yeah.
So he gave me 3 turns to score. He defended pretty well, and I ended up with, probably a 20% chance of pulling off the score on a pass, turns 8, and I think I needed a push and a 1 dice block to clear the catcher and rolled a double skull with a reroll. So I was down at the half. Second half, he kicks to me short and rolls a blitz. Mm-hmm. Gets a blitzer under the ball who catches it.
Yeah.
So that was a bad start to the half, but he had him semi-caged, but I could get in and knock him over. And this is where the speedy catches came into play. I was able to surround the ball and his players, so there was no real way for him to easily pick it up. The ball spent about 4 or 5 bounces into my players. I'm needing a 5+ to pick it up, can't pick it up, bounces out to the side of the cage. But again, he needed a 3 or a 4 to pick it up and couldn't get it. And then I was able to pick it up and clear it. And then the 4 catches really came into play because the blitzer who had the ball was able to sweep around the other side with the 4 catch a cage, while the rest of the human team was still sort of pinned in the scrum on the left.
Yeah.
If I hadn't had the 4 catches there, I don't think I would have got away. Just the dodge in the combination with move 8. I ended up 2 turns later, he sort of caught me and pinned me again in his half on the other side of the field. But again, I was able to sweep to the other side and hand off to a catcher behind a double line of players. And so last turn he had 3 or 4 dodges to get 1 dice on the catcher to try and knock me down. And that was the situation where the diving tackle came into play to take his witch elf out of play. So he did it with a lino and rolled a 1 on the first roll and left me to walk it in turn 16 for the draw and the tournament win.
Perfect. So, by the sounds of it, none of your games were actually very pretty.
No, nothing was pretty. I don't think, apart from maybe the last 2 or 3 turns of the first game, I never really felt in control of any of the games at any stage. As I say, I got a little bit lucky with the Dark Elves and the Runner, which helped. The Khemri was a struggle the whole game.
Yeah.
The Wood Elves, I thought I had it under control, but they were a threat for the whole game. And then the Dark Elves not being able to clear the ball when it was on the ground at the start of the game. And then the blitz in the second half meant it was pretty tough for the whole game.
Yeah.
So,
it's always going to be tough when you cop a blitz and he can get a player under the ball, and your first turn of your offensive drive is, well, I got to win the ball back.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, how do I get 2 dice on this ball carrier now? And then, get enough players, or, he was able to get some players down there, which meant recovering the ball wasn't straightforward either. So,
yeah.
And it's just a pretty tough matchup with humans, I think. The Dark Elves are a bit like humans, except they've all got edge 4. So, fundamentally, there's an argument saying they're just a superior team. So, but that's where the movement 8 and the edge 3 with dodge at least gives you some maneuverability. In the end, the Dark Elves are only 6s and 7s generally. So, again, with the limited TV, Dark Elves couldn't take full positionals. Yeah, neither Dark Elf team I played had 6 blitzers and Wood Elves.
Yeah. The
2 teams did it a little bit different way, but they were still packing in linos to fill the roster.
Yeah.
So having the 4 move 7 blitzers and the 4 move 8 catches did mean I had a good movement advantage over them.
Yeah. Nice. Well, my games, maybe not as exciting as Matt's. I guess some of them were. My round 1 was an Orc-Off, so that's never going to be the most riveting of games, just armor 9 smacking against each other. The fellow I did play was actually a relatively new player, so he also didn't have all the models available to him, which meant he was only running 2 Black Orcs and 2 Blitzers, because that's all the new box set comes with. So that was a little bit rough on him. I ended up just... offensively, it was actually a little bit hard. I guess I was just getting used to how Orcs play, and sort of... I guess they're a little bit more one-dimensional than most of the teams I'm used to playing. They're a little bit slower, but eventually I ground down and scored 1-0 at the end of the first half. It was a little bit of a worry when I was throwing... I don't even know how many blocks a turn, and I was knocking guys over, but I wasn't doing anything. And then he would do 1 blitz a turn and cash, 1 blitz a turn, cash, and he did that the first 3 turns of the game. And I was like, oh, this might be a bit of a rough one. But yeah, we scored. Ended turn 8 of the first half. Then second half, he didn't protect his ball carrier as well as he perhaps could have. Blitzed him down. Ball sort of fell around for 2 or 3 turns. I managed to pick it up and score and win 2-0 relatively comfortably. So I don't think he ever sort of got in my back third to look like scoring. But he was a new player. Any new players that are listening / watching this, I would definitely encourage you to come to tournaments and just play. It's the best way to learn how to play. It's the best way to learn what's good, what's not good. He actually rocked up with a 1 million TV list. He didn't realize he could spend that extra 150, so a couple of guys helped him make the list before he played. But yeah, Blood Bowl folk are usually pretty friendly, so just go along to tournaments and play, and you'll have a good time.
The other thing there is that, as you said earlier, Orcs are a fairly forgiving list, so they're good first-time players. And if you are suffering from Blood Bowl 2016 boxitis and missing positionals, if you let the tournament organiser know, I'm sure they can fill the roster in, because just about every veteran player, except maybe you, has an Orc.
I do have an Orc team. I do have a full.
Well, you do.
Team. I do.
You
Yeah.
just never used them. So.
I just never used them.
Yeah. So everyone's got an Orc team. So there's plenty of miniatures around to borrow for the day.
Yeah, exactly. So game 2 pitted me up against the Dark Elves that you played in the final round. And I got to say, I did feel a little bit hard done by. I received in the first half, and things went really smoothly. He basically got out of the way and was just letting me roll down the pitch, do whatever I liked. Again, I didn't really hurt anyone or knock anyone out, and he did a couple of cash, which, playing with Orcs, being down players against Dark Elves, always going to hurt. But going into score on turn 8, I don't even think I used a reroll the entire half. Blitz with I think it was one of the Black Hawks with block for 2 dice, and decided to roll 2 skulls. And then I'm like, well, I guess we'll reroll that, and decided to roll another 2 skulls. So I ended up not scoring.
Skulls?
So I didn't score at the end of the first half. He didn't score either. He didn't have any players in position to capitalise on that, which was maybe a slight mistake given how, I guess, freely he let me roll down the pitch. I feel like he could have had a little bit of a setup where he could have had a guy sort of floating around the middle somewhere and a guy floating around down ready to score, but he didn't, so a little bit fortuitous for me. Second half, he scored in, I think, about 3 or 4 turns. Couldn't really stop him dodging, weaving, ducking. Then I go, all right, cool, we'll go for a draw at least. That seems pretty good considering what happened in the first half. Go to block with the troll, 3 dice, and rolled 3 skulls. So turnover before I picked the ball up. I did have 1 tackle zone on the ball, I believe, but the Darkies just flooded on through. And from there, the ball sort of bounced around. He picked it up, I knocked it off him, picked it up, he knocked it off me, picked it up. Then he ended up picking it up, and I tried to knock him down, didn't knock him down, and he scored for him to take the 2-0 win. So that was a little bit of a rough one.
Interesting question there. Yeah. Yes. Did you regret throwing the 3 dice block?
In hindsight, I obviously regret throwing the 3 dice block. In the game sense, I wanted to throw the 3 dice block in order to make sure I was going to sort of have my cage in the middle of the ground where the troll was sort of around. So I wanted to make sure that if I knocked that guy down, I would be like, yeah, all right, we can go there. If I only pushed him, I could have maybe gone, all right, we're going to go somewhere else. But you sort of feel relatively safe rolling 3 dice and getting at least a push on one of the 3. But yeah, I think from memory as well with his kick, I had to, if I wanted to pick the ball up with the sure hands guy, I had to go for it. His kick went way to the side. It was in the very last square towards the side wide zone. So that's why I only had the 1 tackle zone on it, because I sort of had my players set up so we had all bases covered, and it sort of went way out right field. But yeah, in hindsight, obviously, I regret throwing the 3 dice block with the troll. But
so what are the, because he doesn't have block either. So it's not just, if you had block and you need triple skulls to screw up. Well, that's, you can't plan for 1 in 216. So, but triple both down would screw you as well, wouldn't it? And
yeah, but
so it's one in 27.
Just a push is fine. A push
anyway.
is fine.
We should know that Dark Elf player we both played is fairly new to the tournament scene. He's been playing in his own social group for a number of years. He plays positionally very well, I think.
Yeah, I would agree, definitely.
He perhaps overall strategy, as I say, I questioned his decision to stall in our game, and maybe you're questioning the formation of his defence in the first half of your game. But he's certainly got a lot of promise considering he hasn't been on the tournament scene for very long.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even think, although I say he just sort of let me roll down the pitch to score, he still did make it, so I had to do stuff to score at the end of the half, so it wasn't like he just got out of the way and let me score. To his credit, I had to make a 2-dice block. There was no way I could make a 3-dice block on his guy, so that's something. But yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm sure that's probably, he'll be saying Owls against Orcs, you don't want to commit because you take the damage. So
yeah.
It's perhaps the best you can do is conserve your players for the second half.
Yeah.
And once in a while you get lucky like he did against you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think if you go in even 1-0 down with a full complement of players, you're not too upset about that. So,
yeah.
But moving on.
Who did you play third?
Game 3, I played Necro, and I think it was another newer player. I think he was at least newish to the tournament scene. I'm not sure how new he was to Blood Bowl in general, but Necro. I hadn't seen him at a tournament before. He was pretty solid. Again, with the format, Necro is sort of one of those teams that struggled a bit. He only had one werewolf, so sort of the reason you play the team, I guess, is the fleshies and the werewolf, or the werewolves. And only having one meant he wasn't perhaps as quick as he could have been against me. It was a bit of an up and down game. The flesh golems made it sort of hard for me. Strength 4, just standing in the way, stand firm, block. He had block on 1, and I think 1 had nothing. The wolf was relatively lackluster because it just had block, and it couldn't really do much with it. It's just a block wolf, and I made sure it was sort of manned up by a lineman all the time, so he had to dodge away. To which he did fail a fair bit, but again, I received. Did I win? Yeah, I won every roll to receive all 4 games. So I received all 4 games. He threw a lot at me. He was the opposite to the Dark Elf coach, where it was like every turn he would just throw players at me, and I would be beating them away and making new cages. To which that was probably actually the game that I played. Oh, actually, maybe the Wood Elf game I played positionally a little bit better. But yeah, it was because I wasn't hurting him or getting anyone off the pitch. It made it a little bit difficult because the players were still standing there, and I'm trying to move forward and make cages. But in the end, I did end up scoring at the end of the first half. I scored, I think, turn 7 rather than turn 8 because I couldn't really wait out the extra turn. Again, he couldn't score. Going forward to score, his perhaps a questionable tactics a few times where he ended his turn relatively close to some of my players with his ball carrier and a little bit unprotected, which meant I think about turn 3 of the second half, I did manage to get a 2-dice block on his ghoul with a tackle, with the tackle blitzer. I knocked the ball down. It sort of just scattered around everywhere. Again, we're all going for it. He's going for it. He couldn't get forward at all. I had a big wall of just orcs that he couldn't get past, and he's trying to recover the ball, and I'm sort of sweeping him from behind as well. And I managed to pick the ball up again and run down and score and have another 2-0 win. So
nice.
That was pretty solid. I think, again, his offense, he didn't really know what he wanted to do, I don't think. He was trying to sort of make a cage, but at the same time he was trying to score fast, and it ended up just leaving his players out of position and made it really easy to hit his ghoul. So I think I did actually cash a ghoul in the first half as well, which put him down a little bit in terms of speed. So I don't know whether that played into his mind, but yeah.
Especially with only one werewolf.
Yeah, especially with only one werewolf. He's almost as quick as orcs at that stage, and orcs are not a quick team. So, but then final game. Going in, knowing that no one can topple the mighty Dazed. He's got it wrapped up. How can he throw it away from here? he gets gifted everything in the NBBL. He has goblins draw for him so he can win the gold coin. He's untouchable. What can I do? But I play anyway. I soldier on against the Wood Elves. The Wood Elves that Dazed played as well. And it was a battle, that one. So normally the coach that plays Wood Elves would play Orcs, and normally I would play a team like Wood Elves, so it was funny to have the roles reversed, where I'm sitting down there with Orcs going, I've got no idea what I'm doing, and he's sitting down with Wood Elves going, I've got no idea what I'm doing. So it was fun, and again, I feel like the game could have been a heck of a lot different than what it was. There were a lot of turns where he ended his turn with linemen, catchers, everyone in Orc tackle zones. Rather than make the 2+ to dodge away, and I would hit him and I would knock him down and I'd roll 5s and 6s and they would get back up and he'd do it again the next turn. So it was perhaps a little bit on his part too used to playing Orcs, where you can go, yeah, I'm just going to leave this lineman here, he's going to get hit, he's armor 9, he'll be fine. He ended up being fine. Actually I do lie, he did actually receive that first half. I did lose the toss because I turned him over. It just felt like I received because I turned the ball over turn 3. So I had the ball from turn 3 of the first half. He was trying to stall, which I think is correct. I think he was trying to score on like turn 5 or 6 maybe. But I turned him over. I marched down. I could only really stall out to about turn 7. And then I had to score. I feel like he probably would have been able to turn me over, so I just scored, and it gave him the chance at the one-turner. He rolled a bucket load of dice. He had 11 elves, and he ended up making the one-turner, which,
nice.
Fair play to him. I feel like I sat there and went, what's the point of playing anything but Edge 4 when you can just do that and score in a turn? Second half...
How did you defend it?
I defended it with a Black Orc, Troll, Black Orc, and he had a guard on his team, and so with the guard he was able to get the 2 dice block initially on the first guy to push, and then he could get another 2 dice block. He just had too many elves for me to sort of stop it. I feel like I made a mistake. I probably should have put my guard guy up there as well. Just to throw a bit of chaos in there, which I didn't. I put my block guys on there. I got no idea why I did that. There was literally no reason to put my block guys up there, because my block guys taking block, or my other guys without block falling over. It's the exact same result. If anything, it's better if they fall over. So yeah, that was probably a mistake on my part.
What about your second line of players? Were they deep or were they short?
Yeah, they were deep, which I think, talking to a few guys afterwards, was perhaps a mistake, and they should have been higher up to try and stop him from coming around to blitz. Which I think, in hindsight, is probably what I should have done, considering I think I had a full complement of players too at that stage. So I could have maybe tried to make him dodge and whatever else, which is what I did do when he tried the second... one turn at the end of the second half. So
the other thing that occurs to me is if you'd had that stand firm on that Black Hawk rather than Mighty Blow, that would have been useful in that situation.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that would have definitely come into play.
And then you can go Black Hawk with stand firm, second Black Hawk, and then Troll on the other end.
Yeah.
And he has to actually either push, or he basically has to push strength 5 around.
Yeah. That's actually a big consideration to drop that Mighty Blow and go stand firm, because the Mighty Blow did nothing all tournament. So so
had one stand firm or one side step to counter those.
Yeah, to counter the one turns and make it a little bit safer if you do want to go along the sideline and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 1-1 at half time. What happened second half?
Second half I received. He leapt a lot with ward answers. He leapt a lot. He turned 1, he leapt with both of them. Turn 1 of the second half, he leapt with both of them to blitz the corner of my cage. So I was sort of sitting there going, I don't know what's going on. I've played ward answers in the NBBL, Wood Elves 4 games in the NBBL this season. Won every game, haven't leapt once. So Wood Elf coaches out there, people that are playing Wood Elves for the first time, you see a ward answer, you do not have to leap every turn. It's an optional skill. You don't have to do it every turn. It's fine. Yeah, but I feel like the second half, it could have just been so different. He threw players at me everywhere. I knocked them down. Didn't do too much damage. About probably turn 4, I did start to do a little bit of damage. Started to knock a few guys out, which at that stage of the game is as good as a cash. He eventually got the leap into the cage with the War Dancer, and one dice powered the ball carrier. The ball scattered onto a Black Orc who promptly caught it, which was pretty nifty. Then he had the uphill task of trying to get it off the strength 4, and again, I just kept rolling the cage down. He did make it very hard, so I guess it was... and I've had it happen a few times. I've played a few coaches where it's almost like Russian roulette. They play sort of a team like Skaven or Wood Elves or whatever. They man up all your players at the end of their turn, say, go, your turn, do whatever you want. And you do it, and if you don't actually knock them down and hurt them, your next turn is very, very difficult because you've just got all these fast, mobile players standing where you want to go. And I feel like that's sort of what it was. So I was... Positionally, I thought I played pretty well and managed to make a cage at the end of every turn, and almost at the end of every turn had it so his leap was coming at in an unfavourable position for him. But again, probably about turn 6, halfway down his side of the pitch, there was an unfavourable... is someone washing or something behind you?
Sorry.
Matt's just having a leaf blower going in the middle of his lounge room in the middle of the night. He eventually did get the 1 dice block and did get the power, but like I said, he leapt so much that he used all of his rerolls really, really quickly. Ball fell to a Black Orc. I managed to just roll on down. He tried valiantly, had a guy in the way, but the Black Orc with the ball was luckily one with block, and he just blitzed the guy out of the way after about 4 failed attempts to knock him down before that with other players, and managed to walk it in for the 2-1. He went in for the 1 turn again, but this time I did set the players up a lot higher, and I actually ended up getting a blitz on the kickoff table, so I knocked down his War Dancer that he was planning on blitzing with, and that pretty much ended his 1 turn hopes because he just didn't have enough movement, didn't have enough players. I had players everywhere, so a 2-1 win in the end. So not a bad result. I think, what did I concede? I conceded 3 touchdowns in 4 games, that's not too bad. So
I guess rolling a blitz is another good defense to a 1-turn touchdown attempt.
Yeah.
You just have to master that skill.
Yeah, that's it. I'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah, that's right.
Particularly in Blood Bowl.
So would you're happy with how the Orcs performed?
Yeah, I think so. I think relatively happy. I think especially since I hadn't played them before, I think I have more of an idea of how to play them now. I struggled more in offense than defense. I found it pretty easy to defend with them. Obviously, not conceding many touchdowns, but I do feel like my offensive drives were a lot harder than they needed to be, and I feel like I made them a lot harder than they needed to be. So yeah.
And that was with the movement 6 ball carrier. If you're taking the thrower, you would have been slower.
Yeah, exactly. I think if I took the thrower, I probably would have had to go for it a few times to score, and you're leaving that up to chance. Then go for it to score like a 1 in 6 to actually pass rather than fail.
Yeah, that's right.
That's just the way it works.
Passes 50% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's Conquest. I feel like this is a pretty good place to wrap it up. We've been going for about an hour, so I don't want to keep you all night.
All right, here's a quick quiz for you before you go.
All right, lay it on me.
If you have a Chaos Dwarf team with 6 blockers with Mighty Blow, should you be able to lose to a Goblin team?
Should you be able to lose? No
Is
way.
That impossible?
Unless you actually don't physically rock up to the game, I don't think it's possible. Who did that?
We just had an NBBL result came through, and Goblins beating Castles 1-0 with 2 all-in casualties is a pretty special result. The culprits shall remain nameless
to protect the dignity of all involved. Though in saying that, Dazed sits there and says that as he last season had to rely on goblins drawing with humans to win the gold coin with his wood elves. His wood elf team was by far the best team in the league, by far.
I just claimed that I didn't waste any effort that season.
Just did the bare minimum and still won. Coasted by. Showed everyone how
That's
easy
exactly
it
right.
truly
I
was.
had complete faith in my opponent's inability to clinch in the last game. So
Just rely on the choke.
rely on the choke, yes. All right, very good.
So that's going to wrap it up for Quick Snap episode 2. 7 months in the making. Apologies for some of the technical difficulties. That's potato internet. That's Australian internet. What are you going to do? I did actually make an email, which is quicksnapyoutube@hotmail.com. We'll probably primarily focus on tournaments, but if you have any questions with league stuff as well, skill ups, anything like that, feel free to send us an email and we can discuss it with whoever is on the show. But Dazed, thanks for coming on today. Congrats again on the win.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, always a pleasure. Any final words to the fans? The millions of fans out there screaming for you.
Well, maybe we can do it again soon. Talk about the Ausbowl State Championships that ran in Melbourne a few weeks ago.
That would be
We
good.
might want to do it within 7 months, though, for episode 3.
Yes, hopefully not 7 months in the making. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Be sure to check us out. Give us a subscribe, a like, whatever you do on YouTube, whatever you crazy kids do these days. And we will catch you next time.